How's my... Nothing's really wrong, but I have a dramatic face, so more people will click on the video face for YouTube. I hate it. I absolutely despise that. I think I've done it in the past before. You see it a lot in videos. In the title, it's like, we have to talk, things like that, where nothing is so actually dramatically wrong, but that's how a lot of people get others' attention. Why am I making this video? Well, interestingly for me, on the last video that I made, the top comment, maybe I'll take a screenshot of it, the top comment was in a video that I thought people will not be able to resist commenting on the locations that we went to and the editing and everything they saw. The top comment was, hey, longtime subscriber here, do you think you could just make a video talking about like what's going on in your life? And I thought that was kind of interesting because on the one hand, that's actually, if you have the right perspective about it, I think that it's actually incredibly flattering. But for when you're making content on YouTube and you're taking all this care, you're going to different locations, you're trying to evolve in your craft, it makes you go kind of nuts because you're like, what? People want to just hear me talk about my life? Don't they want to see sweet editing? But if you're humble about it, like I said, then you realize that I think a lot of what is attractive about YouTube, and I was talking to my brother and my friend the other day, was that there's a genuineness to it. There can be a genuineness to it because there's much less of a distance between you and the creator that it is that you're interested in. And I do appreciate that. And it's easy to lose sight of when you're kind of like hell-bent on improving yourself as a content creator, where you realize that sure, it's good to have great editing, but it's that presence, that connection that you feel with the creator, which makes it so engaging. Because I suppose, to look at it another way, if you wanted to see something incredibly well produced, well, then you would probably go to you'd go and watch like Endgame, you'd watch The Avengers or something like that, and YouTube wouldn't be that place that you would go to for that kind of experience. But I think it's kind of inevitable, if you feel like you have any creative integrity on YouTube, that you would try and improve that element of yourself. But you really have to be careful not to err too far on the side of becoming this like really prolific professional editor, where you'll lose that personal touch in your channel. And I don't think I could say that I've lost that, but I do know that I've emphasized over time, because of the people I think I especially respect as well, when I look at their content, I prioritize that more than, say, doing something like this. And even when I do something like this, where I just speak to the camera, it's usually very, very carefully curated. In fact, I'll write something, or I'll take, I don't know, like 20, 30 takes, unless I've like made some notes. In the past, when I speak on a topic, I usually write bullet points down, and I kind of pride myself on the fact that I can discuss things at length and not have to do too many takes. But today, I'm very specifically, I wrote nothing down. I'm not going to take any takes. I'm not even going to do jump cuts. So I hope for the people, or the person who requested this and those who thumbs up their comment, that they can get some satisfaction, some sense of how I'm attempting to be as genuine as I possibly can be on my channel, because I do appreciate that. That's something I'm often frustrated with, because I really do appreciate in my own personal life, and even when I create, I like genuine connection. It's the reason I would say that a lot of the people who have been subscribers of mine, when the opportunities arisen in a very organic way, I've ended up being friends with them. It's been really, really cool. People who I've stayed in contact with for years, they come over to Japan, then we meet up. People I would totally consider my friends. And just this act of sitting in a room speaking to a camera as though you're speaking to someone I think it'll never stop being a little bit strange. But as it is now, I think it's also a necessity, because as much as you want to have genuine connection with the people that you're speaking to, that it would become overwhelming. It's impossible to have the thing that we want without it kind of resulting in an imbalance in our lives. Long story short, though, I am incredibly grateful for that people would care at all about what's going on in my life. So I suppose I could talk at some length about that right now. Big things going on for me have been like, why, title of this video, why have I not been making videos? It's because, surprise, I've been making videos. Specifically videos that have so stretched what it is that I'm capable of doing in a short period of time that it's meant that I cannot release them with the same regularity. For example, huge for me, where I've done this channel now, it's crazy to say, for about 6 years. And it was just recently that I was finally approached by a couple of companies to do commissioned work for them, specifically that documentary I made. That was through a real estate company, Hatchesay, that if you watched to the end of the video, you would see that they had sponsored me. And then recently, the video previous to this one was Tantra Nightclub, that I did the promotional video for them. And those, like I say, because I'm so hellbent, I want to become, if you compare the stuff that I make now compared to the 480p webcam camera, I'm really proud of it. But I think if I'm a creator as well, that I would like to have mass appeal. I'd like to connect with more people, that I need to find some place in between. And I think a lot of that as well has to do with letting go of exactly how you think your channel should be. Again, touching on this way that I create based on the people that I respect. I'll see these, again, these like very carefully curated channels that they have like a specific type of content that I really, really enjoy. And it's all so carefully branded. And I feel like if I were to do videos like these amidst the more like professionally edited ones that I create, that they're out of place. Not only that, it's challenging as well, because as you start to do YouTube more, you realize the sort of things that would naturally have more mass appeal, especially considering where it is that I live. Like, for example, if you make an apartment tour video, like I did an apartment tour video a while back, not going to edit this, it's all in. That documentary that I made recently probably spent about 100+ hours on it. Went to Kyoto, interviewed all these people, translated, huge effort, about 100 hours. It's sitting now at about 4.3 thousand views. I walked around my friend's apartment and no editing, just randomly following him for 26 minutes, and it has 11,000 views. It's zero effort. It makes me laugh. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony that these simple things have such high return. That might not be irony. But it's all okay. I think if you put your ego at the door, if you're grateful at all for a platform that you can create on, and even have your art rejected, is a special thing. It's a very special thing. So I work to not lose that perspective. So what else? People wanted to know about my life. The other thing, I refuse to be one of these people who, when they come to Japan, it's so easy to never speak the language. Even when you're out in the countryside, like, I really think that people have this misunderstanding that you will learn by osmosis, that it's like, I am in an area of high concentration of Japanese, and that will naturally fill in the low concentration area, which is my brain, and I'll just get Japanese. And it doesn't happen that way at all, or at least it doesn't for me. I've never been a strong student at all. I'm like, it's a constant joke with me and my Japanese teacher, how bad I am. It's quite loving. It's very like, it's very Karate Kid. She's like very stern, but in a loving way. And it's really amazing. I get like choked up when I talk about her. She's so wonderful. So I've passed the N4 not too long ago, and I've taken the N3. The reason that I take these tests so consistently that some people will be like, oh, you're just wasting your money, is that I find by signing up for them that it creates a real kind of accountability and focus. And so it creates drive by signing up for these tests. And I did the JLPT3 and I only failed by 15 marks, which is not that much at all. And so I'll be doing that again come July. So that's a huge thing for me. I would love to, and I will, even if I am the ultimate tortoise. I am the ultimate tortoise. I'm going to get to that finish line after everyone, but I will get there eventually. So that's something that I've recommitted to in terms of the time that I've spent. When I have free time, it'll be much more now spent studying. And it's wonderful. One thing that I think could be emphasized more to people when they're trying to learn the language is that it gets easier. You would think as a result of the language being more difficult that you would be up for more and more and more so against this greater, more difficult gradient. But the truth of it is that the more that you learn, the more that you accumulate. It's that idea that you build tools and then you build tools with the new tools. And it's as you accumulate knowledge in the language, you now have like grammar structures which then connect to this grammar structure. You know about pronunciation, which then connects to this. It's basically like the more that you increase your knowledge of the language, the more that you're able to infer meaning and infer grammar. And so it gets easier, to quote that phrase for people having a really bad day. Other things that are going on that like really, really matter to me is I'm an absolute Fitnessaholic. It's not a word. No editing. Hashtag no editing. I'm not removing any of this. Ever since I was in a relationship many years ago and I got, I don't want to say morbidly obese, but I got very, very fat. Ever since then, in a sort of self-flagellating way, I would refuse to allow myself to lose shape, to like not get it. And that sounds very negative, right? That's like, ooh, that's like you're motivated by fear more so than the glory of success. But through that at first negative reason why it is that I made myself accountable to my fitness, when you do that, you suddenly realize inevitably when you do a lot of fitness, all the mental benefits of it, which are incredible, which are priceless, to quote Visa. And I've really found that through all these years that I've like worked to keep the weight off. I think there's that like awesome phrase that's like one of the greatest tragedies of life is for like man or women not to know the true beauty of their body. And I believe that that's somewhere closer to the like Greek aesthetic than it is about like body positive image, which may be a little too right for some people watching this, but I think people would find greater satisfaction than if you find, now I'm going on tangents, this is so raw, it's so real, right? That's what we wanted. We want genuine interaction here. A lot of people finding like comfort or being told more and more nowadays that you should find comfort with your body image and you should be body positive. Yeah, but I think that you shouldn't entirely remove accountability to fitness from that because you're ignoring how sweet fitness is. Like it's great when you go for a run. Like people have forgotten this sort of what are the things? No editing. Remember the word. The sort of like it's not pheromones. That's what I was gonna say. The pheromones that release when you run. No, somebody's gonna like immediately in the comments be like, it's this. What was it? Oh my god! But I'm leaving this all in. I refuse to. Basically, when the endorphins, as soon as you let go, then it comes to you. The endorphins that are released when you run. It's like people forgot that like working out feels good, and it's not always associated with this like brutal like body dysmorphia. Like working out chemically is amazing for you. Going for exercise is like the number one thing for mood elevation. It's really good. I've taken about 4 minutes here to get to my point, which is I did a marathon when I was here 2 years ago, and it was the first one I'd ever done, full marathon, 42 kilometers. I thought it was 40, and I got to the finish line, and then, or I got to 40 kilometers, and then there were like 2 more kilometers. I wanted to die. It was ridiculous. And I got a horrendous time, which I suppose weighed in the balance isn't so bad because I ran a fucking marathon, which you can be happy about. But I signed up for that again in a mission to kind of like push myself further. I think it's really important in terms of personal growth. If that's your thing, not all people want to grow, and that's fine. But it's incredible how much access we have to as individuals to do things that we've never ever done before and we never ever thought that we were capable of doing. And a lot of them naturally in fitness, that's like they cost no money. Like aside from having a half decent pair of shoes, for you to be able to prove to yourself that you could run a greater distance than the last distance is incredibly accessible when you think in terms of the sort of wealth that you need to do this thing. I think that's really good, and it's good for everything in your life. Like, there's so much of fitness and overcoming the sort of adversity in fitness that relates to all aspects of life, which is really, really good. So I'm going to do that marathon come October, and that'll be my second full marathon. So I'm really, really excited about that. And what else could I talk about? I would say those are the most relevant things. I would do more like daily vlogs again to give people this sense of like genuine like feeling of the sort of person that I am, the kind of things that I value. But I think you discover very, very quickly that my life is probably not much different than yours. I get up, I go to work, I go to the gym, I make dinner, and then kind of like the very unsexy thing is that I spend a lot of my other time basically making these videos that you see on the channel, and a lot of that is sitting in a chair here listening to music or no music at all, and it's not that exciting. I think if you pay close attention to a lot of people who vlog, nothing happens. But that's not criticizing people's enjoyment of it, because I understand. I've done a video before that actually did pretty good that was on escapism, and it's the sort of thing, it's not, the whole point of escapism is quite, it can be varied, but a lot of it is that people aren't necessarily looking for a point. They're looking for a release valve, and that's what like vlogish stuff kind of is. They want to spend time with that person. It doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to have some greater meaning or depth to it. Things that I have upcoming on the channel will be, I got tons of footage of Kyoto, and I think I'm going to try like more raw things, like I say, more me, like you might feel as though I'm actually here speaking to you, because I could see a disconnect there when I was looking at the kind of things that I create, where oftentimes nowadays it'll be me speaking from this position here, it'll be me doing a voiceover, and I realize how much that can remove people from the experience, that escapism of being like, I'm in that place, because without recording footage of you actually there speaking to the camera, it's like you don't break the fourth wall enough. It's interesting to me. It's like people want that fourth wall broken. They want the connection. They want to reach through that and to see people for who they truly are, or as much as they possibly could through the distance of a camera lens and YouTube as a platform where they watch videos. This is another reason I think about like making videos like this, is actually if you speak to my friends, if you know people close to me, like a truth about me is that I won't shut up. And that's why it's very anti-YouTube, I thought, for me to do things like this, because I'll just talk and talk and talk and talk. Like I used to be criticized when I was young. I was in well, like elementary and school and stuff. My voice just carried. I was a loud son of a bitch, real loud. And I wouldn't stop talking. And so I thought that that's also like an anathema. Is that how you say it? It's like the death of good YouTube videos, because YouTube, if you're appealing to the modern like attention span, apparently is supposed to be these really like succinct, tiny things that don't belabor somebody's attention span. But I've found actually when I've tried to adhere to that principle that it works against me. It's interesting that people actually do want you to be, if it's interesting, they do want you to talk at length. I, for a while there, you may not know this, you probably don't, almost definitely, I had a couple channels. One was a gaming channel, but I could not find time to do the sort of editing you would do for that. Like in a different life, I think I might have done more of that. But the other thing that I did is I absolutely love reading. I got Goodreads, that app, and my reading goal for this year is to do 100 books. I'm cruising along at 7 once I finish the one that I'm currently on. But I have read some fantastic, fascinating stuff that when I sit here sometimes I'm like, man, I just wish I had somebody to talk to about these books. And on this separate channel that I did, I noticed that there was like book vloggers, and I did that a little bit. I used to do book reviews on the things that I was reading, which was really interesting. Not so much again, because I want to get this channel, like the short long-term goal is 100,000 subscribers. And the major goal, actually, where it's more quality over quantity, is that I want to do this full time. I want to make my content at a consistency and a quality that you guys like to tune in, that you want to support me, and that this could be my full-time job to increase my skill as a cinematographer, as an editor, as an articulate personality that you might come to for entertainment and good times. But yeah, love reading. How's this for stream of conscious? And the one that I'm reading right now, I wonder, I got my phone. I'll grab it. Where is it? Not editing this out. There it is. Stay with me now. I got my books here that I've gotten through so far, and I would so strongly recommend, like, this reading is in some sense, I think, like a lost art. It's something that just people aren't doing enough of nowadays, and it's so good. The revelations, books reveal so much magic in the world, and if you're feeling like, you know, you're in this rut, you're in this routine that you want to get out of, just read a book. Just read a book, man. You'd love it. I read this one. It's called Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. And it was really cool because it introduced me to like different ideas of consciousness. And the specific idea in it that I really, really liked was how there's subjective consciousness. That's your subjective experience. Objective is when you like try and get outside of your perspective, right? But what he talked about, this like other layer that I never considered before, this like cool idea was intersubjective consciousness, where it's like reality, which can be essentially thought of as like a shared illusion, shared delusion. You have these like pockets of reality where it's people who all believe the same thing, and so they're sharing, even though they have personal subjective experience, so much of their subjective experience is shared around that community. For example, like people during the Crusades, you could feel like your reality was confirmed by the intersubjective reality around you of all the people who thought going on the Crusades is a good thing. That was really cool for that. There's this awesome author I got introduced to. It's like young adult, but it's so much better than that. And it's like the way I was describing this to my friend was like, it was like classical music. It was like writing classical music, just so somehow like, what did they described her as having an economy of prose. And it's Ursula K. Le Guin, and it's called the Earthsea series. And actually, there was an adaptation of one of her books from this series made into a Ghibli movie that was done by like Hayao Miyazaki's son, but apparently it was horrible. But the books are amazing. First one's great. Then the second one was like a real slow burn. I think that would be probably least favored by people. I read that. And then the third one, called The Farthest Shore, which I read, was absolutely incredible. The other book I've read is Consciousness Explained by Daniel Dennett. And that was like getting punched in the face repeatedly with how stupid I am. But I got some things out of that too. I was like, I want to understand consciousness more, but what I understood after reading this book is only further enhancing how much I didn't understand about consciousness. But it was great. It was good to challenge myself with that. My favorite author in the world, Peter F. Hamilton, he just released this book called Salvation, which I noticed right away was cool. It was like a Canterbury Tales, if you don't know, is where it's a super classic. Oh no. The light went out. Okay, we're gonna go for a take two. Okay, and we're back. So I was saying, I was ranting. Nah, not ranting. We're having a cool discussion here. I was talking about the books I'm reading. So this book, Salvation by Peter F. Hamilton, my favorite author, was like Canterbury Tales in that it was all these different characters that sort of represented different value sets and backgrounds. And the story is told slowly through each one of their perspectives, and all their perspectives converge into one as time goes on. Following that one, I read How to Change Your Mind, The New Science of Psychedelics, which is amazing. Like, I've always been interested in psychedelic research and MDMA in terms of its use for post-traumatic stress syndrome, and to help people with things like alcoholism. And this book is fantastic. If you're looking for something on that topic, psychedelic experience, its relevancy to how it can be used for healing, in a scientific discussion of that, it's really, really, really good. That was a great one. And then now I'm currently reading Life 3.0, which is a book about AI and the sort of like relevant questions that we should be asking ourselves going ahead as we progress towards a artificial general intelligence, which is just like, we have very narrow artificial intelligence right now, which means that it's created to accomplish a very specific task. But artificial general intelligence would be like ours in that it could complete and solve complex problems of a variety, which is really, really cool. And I love what you get from books when it's like you go in for a specific reason, then it's the things that you weren't expecting that make it so interesting. And there's a lot of that in this book, where it gets to a section particularly where it's talking about goals. We're all interested in goals, I think. We all have them to a greater or lesser extent. And he really offered this interesting perspective about how goals don't necessarily have to be subjective. You can see goals as functions acting out within physics. Like, what is the goal of the universe in terms of how does it naturally act out, and what does it tend towards in terms of organization of matter? And the really crazy thing that came out of that was entropy. That seems to be the state that the universe tends towards in every single form. And this gets really trippy. The way that it can in fact do that to a greater extent is actually through replication, like whether that's replication of an organism or whatever else, because to replicate something it requires energy, and energy is literally entropy. It's like the breaking down of matter to create energy. It's crazy stuff. It's a really, really good book. I love getting these perspectives and magic. I'm always looking for a little bit of magic in life, and that's what I get when I read these kind of things. So that's what's going on in my life. It's not boring. It's not boring by any stretch of the imagination at all. Yeah, so that's this totally raw, unedited video that I'll make for now. And I have to stop talking now, because I know I could do this. I could literally talk to a camera for hours, and that's not okay. You gotta do other stuff with your day. But for the people who were curious about this, thank you so much for having an interest in my life and what's going on with me. So here it is. I'm going to be doing more videos like this, and tending towards trying to inject a little more of that genuine feeling into the videos, that it's fine. Like, I think there's a balance between making them highly produced, but then I can also not have it feel so removed from who I actually am, because I understand that can be so interesting, and I'm flattered by it. I'm so flattered by that. Of course, I want to, and in many ways, that's what you're trying to do with art, is like show a true side of yourself. And it's funny in the perfection of yourself, of your art, how you can so remove yourself from it. These are random thoughts. Like I said, I didn't write any of this down, so you're getting kind of like unfiltered Dave in the course of this video. I really would appreciate, closing out now, if you would consider, this is something I don't do like in a really intense way, and to achieve my goals I probably should, but if you would consider supporting me on Patreon, because I thought of it in this order, that like, don't talk to people about supporting you until you make better content. But then if you make all your efforts into making better content, but then you never mention your Patreon, you're never actually getting support for your improvement. And a lot of people, I think, would support me there, but they don't even know that it exists. It's not something that's like, oh, that would allow him to make more content like this. That would allow him to basically become a better artist, and that's something that I want to support. So I do a bunch of things on there. It's like I got a share folder for photography I do around Japan. I got a Discord channel that for people who have any questions about Japan, I always make myself available on there. I have my phone with me far more than any sane person should. Although I don't do social media feeds. It's kind of funny, contradictory. Like, I'm very anti-social media feed, but my whole life as I've created it now is surrounding social media. It's kind of bizarre. But there's ways, I think, to constructively use it that avoid a lot of the really toxic pitfalls that you find there. I also have stock footage on Patreon if you want to do your own creative stuff. Like, so you could like grab that stock footage and make your own videos. There's the Discord, there's the photography. Something that I'd like to start up soon to kind of convert real value there. That's something I hate, because I would love if people purely supported me there for my videos, but it would be cool if I can offer that little bit more, that extra something for the fact that people would monetarily support me. Something I'd like to do, because I now feel comfortable and confident enough, would be to offer editing lessons for anybody who wants to learn how to edit, because I can now do that pretty good. I would say watch the last video. I was so heartbroken. The number one thing commented on in the last video was that I'd inaccurately described the behavior of honey badgers. Fuck my life. It was a joke, goddammit. And that I was wearing a t-shirt at a club. I was wearing the t-shirt because I was working. Nobody noticed the sweet edits at the end for the cool dance section. I have such a tough life. No, I don't. I have a sweet life. It's goddamn sweet. I'm very grateful for it. But that's all for now. I'm even going to, when I make this video, this is how crazy I'm going to be. Now, I would usually schedule it. It'd be like very, very carefully released and everything like that. But I'm just going to record this. And basically, if you watch this as it was released, that's like moments from now. That's the connection. That's what's happening here. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, that when I had time to think about that comment, it really struck me how it's easy to get that sort of like angsty creator feel of like, why don't people appreciate me for my art? But then, dude, they want to appreciate you for who you are as an actual person. That's like, isn't that all what we want? To be appreciated for who we are? And you'd be wise to see that when it's happening. So thank you so much to everyone who does watch the channel for me, and not simply to see the cool places that I go. Maybe I had this all backwards. I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. That's all for now before I turn this into an hour-long video.